What happens to our heroes through the passage of time? How will today's legends be remembered once we become old and gray? We get a glimpse into that future in the brand new documentary film 9 Legends. I recently received an advanced copy of this movie and I wanted to give you my review. 9 Legends is the work of filmmaker David Sinnott, whose name you might remember from the 2009 film Bloodstained Memoirs. Legends is a movie that follows a very similar format, a series of separate interviews with some of the biggest names in wrestling. But while the interviews in Memoirs are connected through introductions by Al Snow, Legends takes a different approach with its framing device. Here we travel to the year 2050 as what I assume is supposed to be an elderly version of Sinnott tells his young grandson about the days when he used to interview pro wrestlers as the old man regales the young boy with adventures of legends of the past. I like the concept and the acting is okay, but it just feels a little off to me. Maybe it's just the blocking that's bugging me. Come on kid, turn your body towards him for once. Anyway, the aforementioned 9 legends are Goldberg, Rob Van Dam, Ted DiBiase, Lita, Mike Tyson, Bret Hart, Dynamite Kid, Randy Couture, and Chris Jericho. You might have noticed that 2 of the 9 people involved aren't wrestlers. One of them has never worked for pro wrestling in any capacity. Now obviously Tyson and Couture are legends in their respective fields. And yes, the movie is called 9 Legends, not 9 Wrestling Legends. But still, since everyone else involved in the movie is in wrestling, for these 2 guys to be included in the movie, it kind of threw me off a little. The subject matter in the interviews is a bit of a mixed bag. While the people in Bloodstained Memoirs spoke at length about their time in wrestling, there really aren't a whole lot of wrestling stories to be had for the first half of this new movie. Goldberg shares an anecdote about winning the world title in WCW, but he mostly talks about why he left wrestling and why he enjoys working for charities. DiBiase talks about his path to becoming a born-again Christian. Lita talks about playing in her band and the struggles of still being perceived as a wrestler, a parallel to Chris Jericho's interview back on Memoirs. And Rob Van Dam spends a lot of his interview as a marijuana advocate. Big shock. If you're looking for some juicy insight on wrestling, you'll love the interviews with Bret, Jericho, Dynamite Kid, and even a little bit of Mike Tyson. Speaking of those last 2, their interviews probably could have used subtitles, especially Dynamite's. All the interviews are fun to listen to. Tyson's is probably the weakest in terms of actual substance, but it's still entertaining. Couture talks mostly about his MMA career, and to the uninitiated like myself, it's an educational experience into what led him to become one of the best fighters of all time. It's a bit of nitpicking, but I do have an issue with Dynamite Kid's interview. He talks about how the high-impact style he innovated led to his being in a wheelchair, but he seems to omit all the steroid abuse that sped up the process. Whether that omission was a choice by him or Sinnott, I'm not sure. Even though some of the wrestlers involved don't talk about what made them famous, you come away from the movie feeling like you learned a lot about those people that you might not have known before. I find it kind of refreshing when a conversation with a wrestler turns away from wrestling for a bit. You get a sense of what that person is like away from the squared circle. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what linked these 9 individuals together. It's not wrestling, obviously that's not the case with Tyson and Couture in the movie. It's not the subject matter because it's all over the place for everyone. Then the more I thought about it, I realized what links all these people together is passion, specifically the passion that each of them have that motivates them in their lives. When Lita and Jericho talk about their bands, you get the sense that their music means everything to them, even more than their wrestling careers. When Bret Hart gushes about wrestling as an art form, you can tell how much he lives that philosophy and you get swept up in the magic of it all. When you see a wheelchair-bound Dynamite Kid explain why he'd do it all over again, you almost agree with him. At the end of the day, the legacies of these 9 individuals boils down to their passion for whatever it is. When we remember our heroes, what we remember them for is directly linked to the passion that they have that drives them to be the best at what they are. To me, that is the biggest takeaway of 9 Legends. Overall, I think 9 Legends is a great documentary. Again, you're probably not going to learn anything new about wrestling. There's no dirt or gossip to be had, but the film gives you an intimate look into what drives these men and women and what truly makes them tick. I recommend it. The film is now available for streaming for just $5 at 9legendsfilm.com. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.